When Sarah finally confessed that she wanted freedom instead of our marriage, I didn't try to argue or plead. I just looked at her, gave a small nod, and let her words weigh on me like stones sinking into water. For months she had been restless, speaking about independence, about needing to find herself. I assumed it was a phase that would pass. But that evening, she zipped up a suitcase and walked out of our home. Watching her leave felt like someone had torn my chest open. Yet I remained silent as the woman I loved chose her own solitude over everything we had built together. That first night alone inside the house was unbearable. Every room echoed with her absence. The empty side of the bed felt colder than ever. The kitchen seemed hollow without her laughter, and her untouched coffee mug sat on the counter like a cruel reminder of routine now broken. Still, I told myself I had to stay strong. She wanted freedom, and who was I to chain her to something she no longer valued? Yet the silence was merciless. It gnawed at me, forcing me to question if I had been too dull, too controlling, too predictable to hold her heart. Days passed, and I buried myself in work. Friends advised me to let her go, to accept her choice. But deep down, I knew Sarah was chasing an illusion, a fantasy that running away would solve her dissatisfaction. I waited, not with desperation, but with a quiet certainty that reality would eventually pull her back. And exactly 1 week later, my phone buzzed with her name on the screen. For a moment, I hesitated. A part of me wanted to ignore it, to let her face the consequences of her own decision. But my heart, still bound to her, pressed me to answer. Her voice was fragile, trembling as she asked if we could meet. We chose a small cafe we once frequented when our love was new. The moment she stepped inside, I noticed how much she had changed. The spark she once carried was dim, her shoulders slumped, her smile trembling as if it were too heavy to hold. After a long silence, she whispered that freedom wasn't what she had imagined. She traced the rim of her cup nervously, admitting she thought leaving would make her feel alive, but instead, she felt lost, hollow, like she had thrown away the only person who truly loved her. Her words should have softened me, but instead, I felt anger stir beneath my calm surface. Where was this truth when she stood at the door with her suitcase? Where was this honesty before she shattered the life we had built? I wanted to tell her about the sleepless nights, the endless doubts, the questions about my worth. But I held back. Instead, I asked gently what she had been searching for. She dropped her gaze, ashamed, and admitted she was chasing excitement and happiness. What she found was loneliness and betrayal by the very friends she thought would support her. "I miss home. I miss you," she whispered. Her confession pierced me, but the pain she had caused was not so easily undone. Love, no matter how strong, cannot erase the cracks left by betrayal. She reached across the table to hold my hand, but I instinctively pulled back. "You wanted freedom," I told her softly. "Now you know what it costs." Tears welled in her eyes, and for the first time, I realized the balance had shifted. I wasn't the one left broken anymore. She was. She pleaded for another chance, swearing she had learned her mistake. But promises no longer carried the same weight for me. That night, I lay awake thinking about her words, torn between the part of me that still loved her, and the part that had found strength in her absence. In the end, strength won. I couldn't return to someone who once saw our marriage as a cage rather than a bond. The next morning, I called her and told her the truth she needed to hear. I said I would always care for her, but what she had walked away from no longer existed. "You chose freedom," I told her. "Now I'm choosing peace. We can't go back." The silence on the other end said she understood. Even as her tears broke through, she begged one last time, but I didn't waver. Just as she had chosen herself a week earlier, this time I chose myself. The difference was that my choice wasn't about escape. It was about recognizing my own worth at last. And so, our marriage didn't end with her leaving. It ended with me letting her go. Sarah had believed freedom would liberate her, but in the end, it only revealed the depth of what she had thrown away. The truth stung her harder than she ever expected.